I'm molting. That's right, it's time to let go of things. Our leaves, our feathers. Let that water carry us. Those are the living waters of spirit she was singing about. That's what abides within us. That's what we access when we're looking to feel our unity with all that is. When we're asking for guidance, it's the living waters of spirit that abide within each of us. Do we always feel them? Not yet. We're working on it. Ernest Holmes says there is a universal wholeness seeking expression through everything. We simply call it life. The religionist calls it God. The philosopher calls it reality. This false condition of separation is not our natural state of being. Every one of us and every child now being born and forever comes into this earth with the sheer awareness that there is a divine presence and they live in it. Somewhere along the line, we tend to begin to forget. There is only unity. And yet here we are sometimes living in a separate self-experience, feeling so alone in the universe. As Buckminster Fuller said, we're like infants crawling around on the floor of the universe. And we feel separate, and we feel alone, and we are looking everywhere out there for the answers and for guidance and for feeling unity and oneness and joy in living, and that isn't where it is, although it can show up there. But it shows up there first when we're allowing those living waters of spirit to be so easily flowing through us that we remember who we are. And as we do, we recognize that we're led from within. This month, the Centers for Spiritual Living value is spirituality. Isn't that our value every day? And we're led from that divine presence within as we are working into this sense of spiritually motivated moral leadership, which is the theme of Centers for Spiritual Living for November. We don't talk about morals very much here, do we? There was a Sunday school teacher who had to be out for a couple of weeks, and Johnny came home from Sunday school and told his parents that he really liked Mrs. Jones much better than his other teacher. And it turns out that his other teacher would always tell a story and say, the moral is. And like Aesop's fables, and the moral is, just keep putting one step, slow and steady wins the race, all of the good things that we learn from those. And so the substitute teacher, Johnny liked so much, and his parents asked why, and he said, because Mrs. Johnson doesn't have any morals. So it's not something we talk about a whole lot. We just know that we are moral people. And so it was interesting when I saw that the theme for November was spiritually motivated moral leadership. Well, what is moral except to know what to do that is right, that is for our highest good and the highest good of all concerned. And so when we are looking to see about leadership, and by the way, each one of us is a leader in our own lives. That's where it begins. We have all kinds of opinions about some other leaders, I heard, and fine, but let's start with doing our own inner work. Let's realize that I'm president of my own life. I am the governor of my own experience. I am the council chair. I'm the mayor. As a matter of fact, we live at Ave, and the people who are there in the office that are just wonderful and delightful. When new people come in to rent a place, they introduce our dog Yoga as the mayor of Ave. And she knows it. Let's know who we are. And let's know that we are the beloved in whom God is well pleased, that we have within us access to infinite wisdom, to divine love. And if we're feeling separate and apart and like Nobody loves me, everybody hates me, think I'll eat some worms. You remember that? There isn't any child in the world who doesn't occasionally experience a sense of being shut out and being apart. And that it's not always because of their people around them, because everybody does their best to make sure that the children grow up feeling good about themselves. They do the best that they know how to do. But even then, keep in mind that a little child can't do the things that a bigger child can do. And a bigger child can't yet do the things that adults do. And so there is this natural evolutionary process where the little one is just pulling himself up, perhaps, and maybe the neighborhood children or big brothers and sisters are running around playing ball. It's like, I can't do that yet. And the table. Do you remember sitting at the table when, you were like this? It's like, I'm not quite enough. Absolutely enough. Sufficient. And yet not feeling that way. It's just part of our evolutionary process. We can't read yet. The older kids are reading. We will be reading, and then some. Maybe not talking yet. I don't know if some of you know that I didn't talk for a long time. I was saving it up, right. I was told, I don't remember this, but I was told, my nickname for a while became Tonto, because I would point at something and go, Remember the sidekick? Yeah, And until a friend of my parents took me to the 5 and 10. Do you remember 5 and 10 stores? What are they now? 500 and, Took me to the store and I saw a monkey hanging on the little toy rack. And I wanted it, and I kept pointing at it and pulling my, I don't remember this. It may not be true at all, but that's what I was told. And she said to me, Maxine, if you say monkey, you can have it. Monkey. That wasn't my first word. But when we see other people who've put together this great alphabet in such a way that we create beautiful essays and we have wonderful speeches and so forth, and we're still going, we can feel a little less than. This is something we must all overcome. We're in the process of overcoming it. And the best way I know to overcome it is to dive deeply into those living waters of spirit and realize that everything is within me I will ever want or need. I don't need to keep looking out here for it. But then, when everything within me is in concert with the divine unity and the infinite grace of this universe, then everything that takes place in my world will be an outpicturing of that divine truth. It's called bringing heaven onto earth. That's what we're in the process of doing. And heaven, as you know from the Greek uranos, means that which is forever and ever expanding. And we are forever and ever expanding, except those times where we feel cut off and forget that we're part of this divine life and that we have within us everything we could ever want or need. Why do we experience this aloneness and apartness? And how can we return to this natural state of grace, this infinite unity that is the truth of us, where we are one with love and we are one with peace and we are one with infinite knowledge and we are one with freedom? These are all divine qualities that reside within us all. It requires a new idea. It requires a new mental equivalent, a new spiritual prototype. Deepak Chopra says, every time you are tempted to react in the same old way, ask if you want to be a prisoner of the past or a pioneer of the future. Choose you this day whom you shall serve. You want to be a prisoner of the past or a pioneer of the future? Not difficult to make that choice. Until we finally realize, I'm not alone. I love the prodigal story. The prodigal son, the story of the metaphysical interpretation of this is so beautiful. Ernest Holmes loved it. He had pages devoted to it in this good book right here, our good book. Mine has gold on the edges. Remember the story. A man had 2 sons, and one of them came to him and said, "Father, let me have what I'm going to eventually have in terms of material goods." Sure. He didn't ask, why, what are you going to do with it? He didn't ask when he realized he was going to be leaving. He didn't ask him, are you going to, you going to do anything that I wouldn't be happy about and I wouldn't be proud of you for? He didn't ask anything. Sure, here it is. And the son made a decision to go out. Where did he go? He went out into the far country. Have you ever experienced being in the far country? I have. I don't care for it there. But I have learned from it. Haven't you, when you have visited the far country? The far country meaning forgetting that you're one with the divine presence. Thinking you have to do it all yourself and not having a very good time. Wasting it all. He wasted the fortune that his father gave him. And as a good Jewish boy, he's hungry and he couldn't figure out what to do in order to survive except to get a job feeding the pigs. That's hardly the job for a good Jewish boy, is it? And then he was realizing as he's lying down with the swine and eating the corn husks, he thought, the servants in my father's house are better off than I am. I will arise. This is important. Remember, I'll come back to it. I will arise and go to my father. He got up. He started down the road. And he was halfway down the road to his father's house when who came to greet him with open arms but his father? There were no repercussions. There was no, you're grounded. He welcomed him, brought him home, cleaned him up, gave him the best robe, ring on his finger, gave a great celebration, had a barbecue. There were no pigs at that barbecue. But the second son, the one who stayed home, they call the stay-at-home son, he got a little puffed up and said, wait a minute. That younger brother of mine, he's a rascal. He's a black sheep of this family. He went out and he wasted everything you gave him. And I've been here, your devoted son, the entire time, and you never gave me a party or a feast or a splendid robe. You didn't welcome me back because I never left. And his father says, aha, that's the point. Thou art my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. You have always been here. I've always loved you. Everything I have is yours. Everything I have is yours. Now, the son who went off to the far country, he arose and he came to himself. We have these far-off country adventures, and if we will gain the lessons and the truth from them and continue in our spiritual evolutionary process because of having experienced them, we arise in consciousness and we come back to the unity, we come back to the oneness. Now, these two brothers represent two states of consciousness, don't they? Because we're given an option to choose. Basically, that's all we do, is choose. And so we can choose to be in this loving presence all the time. But if we are, and we're just not always conscious of it, let's wake up to it right where we are. So the stay-at-home brother had everything, but didn't recognize it, it didn't feel the appreciation. Whereas the one who left and came back, when we leave and come back to to ourselves, to our authentic selves, we have such deep gratitude then. And the byways are worth it. And those adventures, so long as we survived them, and look at us, we're still here, they make a difference in the road that we're traveling and the road we're ready to travel next. The living waters of Spirit are within us. And they lead us to the fullness of expression. I express myself more fully when I'm aware that I have choice. I express myself more fully when I'm aware that I'm way more than the ego self. We need to develop our egos. This philosophy is not about killing the ego. It's about utilizing it appropriately. You know, if I think I can go off and I can do that and I can do that, I'm really feeling cut off because I think I'm doing it by my ego self. And when I realize that I need to develop this strength in order to move through the business of life, and then I want my ego to become a transparent portal through which Spirit can shine, through which my answers can come, through which the living waters of Spirit may express, and I'm led then from that place within me. When I embrace this divine nurture and follow its guidance, I never go wrong. If I don't, I do. So you and I are designed to be leaders in our own lives. And your success and my success is always determined by the depth of our spiritual awareness. That's why we come together as this beloved community, to experience our oneness with the divine. There are simple exercises that can awaken this presence within us and this guidance within us. One of them is to come here often. Sunddays, other things that we have, classes, gatherings, social gatherings, our wonderful care groups and the new spark groups that you're going to be hearing more about that are ready to be birthed. Come here often, and other places where you feel yourself alive with Spirit, with people who are like-minded, who are conscious, who are on their evolutionary process. I think I am more comfortable with people like you, where we all know that we are learning and seeking together, than with folks who say, I have all the answers. I think it's a very healthy thing that we learn and grow together, and that we dive deeply into the presence when we're with each other and opening our hearts to each other. Experience the consciousness of love and acceptance wherever you are. Sometimes somebody might be metaphorically or even figuratively right in your face. Anyone ever experienced that? That's when we get to prove the principle that we're learning and wishing to use in our lives. That's when I can realize it's not about me. This is when I can begin to bless this person or this group or whatever may be going on. But have you noticed once in a while it's hard to do? So we just keep practicing. When dancing. We just keep practicing until we are feeling so empowered that the energy in the room can shift by means of our developing a new awareness, a new mental equivalent, realizing that that person or those people are doing the best they can right now. And we can do the praising and the raising. Have I taught you that? A few of you, right? Okay, let's think of somebody in your life that you may be having a little opinion about or a kerfuffle with. It's just this simple. Let's see. Who is not here? I can use a name that isn't here. Okay. Oh, I know one. We don't have any Priscillas here today, do we? Okay, good. I praise Priscilla. I raise Priscilla in the name of love. 3 times. And you feel so much better when you get done. And Priscilla doesn't even need to be in the room. It's really better if she isn't, because she might not know what in the heck you're doing. or she might love it, but it's a beautiful thing to have a spiritual practice where you are praising and raising and blessing and releasing people with love to their highest good. You may not be able to do it in the moment when we're faced with whatever the challenge may be. Do our best. The 4 agreements, the 4th one is always do your best. Just do your best and recognize at the end of the day as you put your head on the pillow, I did my best. That's all. I did my best. Tomorrow, I may do even better. But today, I'm content with knowing that spirit within me is expressing through me. Another thing to do, a nice exercise, is to take a breather during the day, quite literally. Stop and breathe. Have you ever noticed sometimes when you're really into something or focused so much and you have a deadline or whatever, I don't use that word, I have lifelines in my life, but you have something that someone's expecting from you and you better hurry up and do it, that you sometimes realize, oh, I'm not breathing. Have you ever experienced that? So just stop and take a breath, a deep, holy breath, and surrender anything that is in the way of that divine connection. Hurts, regrets, anger, criticism, judgment. And they all have negative energies. Just invite those negative energies, perhaps, to reveal what you may learn from them, and then invite that transforming energy of the divine within you to change it. Then we invite the flow of peace and love and wisdom. And we return to the Father's house. Spirit, originating spirit, we return to the place of unity. The power is inexhaustible. The creative intelligence is constant. God's love is always loving you. And divine wisdom is always guiding you. Will you say with me, I always know what to say and do. I am led from within. I'm led to a marvelous life experience. I experience great success. And I move from glory to glory. And so, my beloveds, and thou art my beloveds, beginneth our lesson. Thank you.